Hello.
Hello. I messed
Oh,
up and called the Serenity blah blah blah, some other thing of yours. And you were
gotcha.
away. Hi.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I'm awesome.
Good.
Hey, before we get started, I want to tell you something real quick.
Tell me, tell me.
Um, okay, so just tuning in this morning and connecting with Eric. Um, just getting excited about this session. And he actually asked me to invite Levi over to introduce you. Just a quick hi, this is Levi.
Oh, sure.
So Levi's going to try to stop by. He's at school taking an exam right now, which is like 2 minutes that way. And I told him, I said, if you get here in time, just come in quietly, and at the end of the session, then I will introduce you.
Wait,
So,
and Levi is the your client, right?
yes, Levi
That's the
actually,
one that was Doug, in other words, right?
yes,
Okay, okay, yeah, just to make sure, because my
yeah.
brain
So, yeah, this
sometimes.
kid is, oh my gosh, it's just amazing to see him because he came in here in such
Hush
a dark
up.
place, and he he's turned around completely, and now he wants to, he's going to school at Muskingum University here, and he wants to specialize in spiritual counseling.
Oh,
So,
wow, wow.
yeah, I mean, I had no idea he was suicidal, but Eric came through really blunt and really direct
I
and said,
remember.
do not take your own life. And I was like, whoa,
Mm.
that's pretty heavy. So and he wouldn't look at me in the session, and I passed it along, and then eventually he looked up at me, and he had been sobbing the whole
Oh
time.
my
And
God.
so anyway, he's doing great, and I asked him if he had time to stop by. Eric wants you to meet him, so
Awesome.
that's that.
Well, if it's past the time, and you can always just text me, and I'll get on Skype
Okay.
anytime, so that's no
Oh,
problem.
sweet. Awesome.
Hi, Eric. I mean, don't you feel proud of yourself, Kim? You've saved a life, man. I mean, you
Um,
not only saved a life, you transformed it.
I just am amazed at Eric.
Oh,
I'm
you need to
just
take
the
some credit for
channeler.
yourself.
I'm just the channeler, but just, seeing how he connects with people, and it does. I mean, Eric's been a big mush ball this morning, but yeah, it just blows me away what he does. He doesn't stop. Like, he continues in so many ways to help, and it's never exhausting and depleting to him, and it's just good.
Oh, that's so good. But I'm
So,
really proud of you.
thank
I mean, you're
you.
really making a difference. You really are.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Sure. Now,
So,
Eric, this one lady is very concerned about herself. I just got an email, so I thought I'd better ask it before we just talk about Thanksgiving.
he has his hands on his hips, and he's like, "What? No, she's not even gonna say hi."
I just said hi. I said hi, Eric.
He's blowing
I
kisses.
thought
He's
I
like, "I
did.
love you." He's
Maybe I
like,
just
"You,
said it in my brain.
you did, but we didn't connect."
Oh,
He's,
okay.
"I love you, Mom."
I love you, baby. Mm.
Okay, now we can start, he says.
Oh, thank you. This lady Nancy Martin is very concerned because she lost her laptop for a while, and she even filed a police report. And then all of a sudden, it's in this weird place. She finds it, and she's worried that she has dementia. And she's hoping that you just hid it for her, just as a prank.
He says she doesn't have dementia.
Okay.
His eyes get real big, and shakes his head. Don't let her thoughts go there. That's not, she doesn't have dementia. Um, he takes partial responsibility for the prank, but not complete. Let me see why. Um, okay, I said, what's partial responsibility? You did or you
Yeah.
didn't do it? And he's like, all right, fine, I did.
Oh, okay. Why were
He-
you trying to blame somebody else, or what?
no, he's just being ornery. He goes,
Okay.
you can say it, a shithead, and he wipes his head like this, and I feel like there was important information on that computer, so of course I'll bring him back together, he says. So,
What do you mean,
no
bring it back
dementia.
together?
Bring her and the computer back
Oh,
together.
okay, okay. So of course he was not going to let it be. Well, you put her through a lot of trouble, man, and scared her. That wasn't your intent, obviously, was it?
No.
Was there a reason you did it, or was it just to show that you're real and give her some Eric love?
Just to show her I'm real, but it had to be more dramatic because she chalks everything up to being she thinks she's creating things with her head, not me doing it. So I needed it to be a little more dramatic for her. He goes, "All right, I'll take it easy."
Okay, well, hey, it worked. This is going to be wonderful for her to know. Okay, all right, I'm going to write an article. I guess Kim and I are going to write an article on Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to know what we should write, Eric, about. I mean, basically, it's about gratitude.
He says it is. There's so much to be thankful for, and there's so many things I can talk about. He kind of says, "Where do you want me to start?" But then he's like, "I can just start." Oh, he's okay. Do you want to start with gratitude? He says.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, he says, this is kind of goes back to what he was telling me earlier this morning. He's repeating it. So he's saying, you know, not just Thanksgiving, but holidays in general. People like to follow traditions and they find comfort in those traditions. What I really hope people can focus on is not taking things for granted. And this is when he gets all mushy. So if I start to cry, I'm sorry because he's been really
Oh,
mushy.
oh,
But he says, you never know what somebody's feeling inside, even if they put a smile on their face, even if they come to the table with you. You never know what they're feeling inside, so don't be afraid to listen to your heart. If your heart is telling you to reach out and strike up a different kind of conversation, go for it. But he says don't take those moments for granted because you're not guaranteed the next moment
I
or that
know.
night or the next day. He says, so I really hope people, he says, go out of your way and do things that solidify within yourself that you're not taking things for granted. He says it's such a common phrase, but it's real. He's like, I mean it. Don't take each conversation for granted. Don't take each moment. And he's like, of course, each meal, but it's for him, it's the importance is more about the relationships.
Mm.
Um, and he also talking about setting yourself free a little bit during this time. He says when families come together through the holiday season, set yourself free a little bit, meaning share a little bit more, talk to your family, open up a little bit more. He's really encouraging that openness. He goes, it's funny because, and he's going to use me as an example. Um, I love my parents, but there's sometimes where I just get this weird wall up and I don't share as much as I would like to, and I don't know why. But he's like, even in those times, let yourself be more vulnerable and share more because not only are you going to learn about yourself, they're going to learn about you, but it's the bond that you're creating, the connection that you're creating that will strengthen and last longer in the long run, he
Okay.
said.
Well, that's good.
He says, when I also talk about set yourself free, he says, I want to go off a little bit. He says, holidays mean traditions and rituals for some people. He says, but I also want people to be mindful. Don't feel obligated to do something um, because of society's attachment on the idea. So try to follow me here because he's getting deep.
All right.
um, okay, so sometimes families might be attached to an idea for a ritual to do something, no matter what it is for your family. He's like, families have all specific rituals and traditions, but he says if you become attached to that in obligation, where's the joy in that? Where's the love in that? He says, make sure if you're going to be attached to anything, make sure the attachment is in love through these traditions and not in obligation.
Mm.
Because when you begin to see it through that filter, like I have my obligation glass on, I see everything as an obligation, there's no joy in it, there's no connections. Um, it's much harder to appreciate the experience, he says. So he says, just be mindful. And again, he's attaching obligation to gratitude and saying, instead of seeing it as, oh, I'm obligated, I got to go do this family function, be grateful you have those opportunities because, again, they're not promised
I
ever, he
know.
says.
How? Okay, go ahead.
He's just talking about for him looking forward to it. And he said, I hope I see smiles on everybody's face.
Oh, you will. You will. What about for those of us who have lost somebody and now there's going to be that empty chair around the table? Any advice for them?
He says, yeah, that's hard, especially when it's the first, going through those first holidays without that loved one. Just because time goes on doesn't make it easier. But he says, don't let that loss become your holiday or your event. He says, when if everybody gathers around a table or a tree, no matter what it is, it's okay to reflect in love and remember in love and joy, but he says, kind of like something you had posted a while back, Elisa, don't unpack and stay there, and don't let those emotions carry over onto each holiday, because then it's like this cloud that just follows you, and the joy isn't like it used to be.
So, any tips on how to avoid doing that?
Yeah, okay. He says, before he answers that question, he's saying, it's hard because the joy isn't going to be like it used to be because you've gone through that loss. The first thing I want people to acknowledge is we don't have those deep, heavy emotions here. So we don't want that for you either. We don't want you to trouble yourself and burden yourself with these lower emotions. We want to see you happier. So if it comes from anywhere, know that it's what we want for you. We don't want you to sit around and be sad and feel guilty for being happy and
Okay.
enjoying events even if we're not there.
Okay.
Um,
Although
he
you probably
says
are.
he he says there's a lot of things people can do to kind of help get through the holidays without such sadness. He's distracted by the dog.
Oh God, I know.
No, it's fine. Um, he's walking around and talking. He's facing opposite, so I can't hear him. Hold on.
He used to be a
Okay.
mumbler.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Like he was just walking around and mumbling, and I can't understand him. But he came back. Um, so he's talking about specific ways to kind of get through holidays without such heaviness. He's like, Mom, this is a hard question. He says, this
It
is,
is.
he goes, what I want to point out is, oh my gosh, no, he's gonna, if he starts crying, I can't even.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's very emotional, so I'm gonna try to hold it together.
Oh, that's okay. You
Um,
don't have to.
he says, oh, gee whiz.
It's
He
okay,
says,
Kim. It's all right, sweetie.
he says,
It's
we're not
okay.
gone. He says, we don't, it's the way people reflect.
Yeah.
People reflect that we're gone. We're
Mm-hmm.
gone in the physical, but we're not gone.
Yeah.
He says it's a more pure relationship. It's a more divine connection. And that's how I want people to see it. I want people to see that just because your loved ones are gone in the flesh, wow.
Oh, it's okay. Let it go.
Oh, he
I cry
says,
all the time. I can tell you. It's good.
yeah,
It's a good release.
he's been mushy today. But
Oh.
he says, just because we're gone in the flesh doesn't mean we're gone. He says, this is a truer way for you to hear me. This is a truer way for you to hear your loved one. If you can't hear him, it's okay. Listen to your heart. What do you feel?
Mm.
So he says, even if you're sitting next to my empty chair, how do you feel? He says, I don't want people to reflect um, on the holiday with that, again, the filter of loss. He says, there is no loss.
Yeah.
I'm
So
still here.
yeah. So that's the basic message. That's the way to keep the cloud away. That they're probably there sitting in that chair, empty chair.
Yeah, he just kind of sits back and he goes like this and shakes his head. I'm sorry, my phone keeps ringing, but he
That's
says,
okay. Do you need to pick it up?
I'm going to shut it off. Let's take a walk.
Oh, yay! I like that namaste sign. That's pretty.
Thanks. This is
Nice
my shop.
place. This is awesome looking, girl.
Thank you.
I like that.
My little baby shop.
Wow.
Oh, okay, but so yeah, he kind of sat up and went like this, and he's just real serious, and um, it's that word I don't want people to use. I don't want people to reflect in that way in the holidays. The loss.
Yeah, because there is no loss. Yeah.
There's not. We're here. We're still here. It's just different.
Yeah. Okay.
He's going like this. He's going,
Poor
how do you?
Erik.
He's going, how do you feel, Mama? And
I
he's
feel
like
fine.
tapping on his heart.
I feel fine. I know you'll be there with me, so we're good. And I was going to talk about gratitude. That it's kind of like an energy, and if you give people gratitude, you don't have to express it out loud even, but that it is like a thought energy that can affect their reality, that can affect them, right?
He says, yeah, it doesn't even take words. He says it's a wavelength. It's its own entity. It's its own vibration, he says. And there's two ways you can look at this. He goes, when you step into it, now he's rapping, he's making a song out of it, but he says when you step into it, when you step into gratitude, first what you experience is you automatically feel more grateful for things that you have and the way things are, situations, people in your life. And then also when you decide to give it, he says, when people decide to give gratitude, you don't need words. He says you don't even need actions. It's a feeling and it's a transfer of energy. He says, of course, gestures and things are nice to give, but don't get caught up in thinking you have to give something to show gratitude.
Oh yeah.
He says it can be the type of conversation you have with somebody. He says, Mom, it's all about the energy that you exchange during that conversation. If you're feeling grateful the whole time you're having this conversation, the energy exchanged will speak for itself.
Okay.
He says you have these categories of people that think they have to give a gift to show gratitude and that it can only be shown that way. He's like, that's okay, but just be mindful that it's an energy transfer, it's an energy exchange, and you don't need things, he says.
Let's go. Anything else on Thanksgiving? Because I kind of want to. We're going to do a Christmas article too, so I guess I'll just go fast, I guess. Because I told you 30 minutes, and I want to honor
I have plenty of time, so don't worry about that.
So, any other thing you want to tell people on how to think about or spend Thanksgiving?
He actually just gave me an image, and then I'll give you what he's saying behind it. But the image was like, you know how you see those pictures of the world, and then people are holding hands around the world?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He said, I want people to think a little bit bigger this holiday season, take their mind outside their family. He goes, imagine if we all came together on the same vibration, what could happen? But so what he's talking about is not only, being grateful for the time that you have with your family, not taking that for granted, but how else can you help outside of your home? He says, this is a time where people do take a break. They take a break to honor their own thoughts and emotions and where they're at in their life. He says that's what the holiday season is good for. But I hope people use this time to also think about worldly matters and think about how you can make a difference. Again, I'm not talking about save the world, even if it's at your office or some community events, like take baby steps. But how are other ways that you can help? He says, because truly if we all join hands and lend a helping hand and reach out, it sounds cheesy and cliche, Mom, but we can make a difference. And people want to. People are getting there. People are looking for it. he says, and people want those human connections, even if it's a stranger.
Yeah.
Feeling connected to another human is the most powerful feeling. So he says, I hope people take time on Thanksgiving to reflect not only on their family, but how else in their communities can they help?
Yeah.
Because again, Mom, think what this does. He says this creates a ripple effect. If I
Mm-hmm.
make Mom happy at Thanksgiving, Mom's a better wife. And then Mom makes husband happy, husband goes to work and is good to his coworkers, and so on. So he says, I want people to know that they're really capable of that ripple effect, even if it's
Mm.
just one person.
Yeah. That's true. Wise words.
He says, just reach out he's asking people are already doing this. People know that it hurts to be judged. So he's asking people to step outside of that as well.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
don't judge when you need to lend a helping hand. Just do it, he
Yeah.
says.
It's important. What about Christmas and all the end of the year holidays like Hanukkah, Kwanzaa? We need to include those, of course. How should we think about or spend them?
It's kind of the same message, he says. The traditions people have are great, but don't get caught up in the gift giving and being out with the chaos and all the people and the crazy crowds to meet those crazy fucking sales. He's like, that's great and that's fun. That gets people in the mood and, it feels
True.
all seasony and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he says. But again, that shit can really pull you away from your focus and really pull you away from taking this moment and savoring it. He says, getting caught up in that, and I need to get this gift, this brand new item that's, great and the whole world wants it. That can pull you away from your focus, and shouldn't your focus be on your family and grateful to have time with them?
Yeah.
He says, try to make that change in your family. That's what I want people to do. He says, I want to challenge people, Mom. Don't be so focused on, even cut back on how much you spend and how
Mm-hmm.
many gifts you give and you
Mm-hmm.
wrap, and challenge yourself to give in a different way. And
Mm.
he's pointing to his heart. He says, I want to see how capable people are of stepping outside of societal rituals. Um, no, he says, I don't want to see how capable, I want you to see how capable you are of. So take a breath and slow down in the holiday season. Connect with people. Again, he says, don't ever pass up a chance to let them know you love them.
Yeah.
And sure, gift giving, again, it's great. It can make people smile. Things are fun. Things are awesome to put your hands on tangible
Mm.
things, items. He says, but make sure you don't take advantage of and take for granted the time that you have with that person. He's like, if they're so important and you want to get them this great gift, spend the time with them.
Can't
That's
you
what's
do
going to
both?
last.
Can't you do both? Because
He
when
says
I
you
give
can.
gifts, I love to give gifts because I just love that person so much. I just want to see them smile and happy.
He's kind of building on that already before you ask that. He says, if that person is so important to you and you want to get them this amazing gift that you know they want so bad and they're going to love, he says, actually, take time in exchanging that gift, but also let it be an energetic exchange. Make it a little more sacred, a little more intimate, he says, to really get across the love behind it. Um, it's all about the energy exchange.
And how do you do
He says,
that?
he goes, ooh, that's hard to put words on. So
Yeah.
beyond the gift, exchanging energy and making somebody feel something. Oh, okay. So he goes, that's how I work with you, Mom. That's how I fuck with everybody. It's an actual energy exchange. It's not just thinking, oh, I love them and I'm grateful for them. It's like
From the
sending.
heart.
Yeah. And he goes, picture this. So he's actually showing me. Do you remember the Care Bears cartoon?
Oh,
Long,
sure.
long time ago, and they'd be
Oh,
like, Care
yeah.
Bears, stare, and then like
Oh, yeah.
would come out of their chest.
Yes.
Like
Yes. Oh,
that's
my God. I haven't thought about that. My two eldest kids just love that.
that's what he's showing. Like, if it was the rainbow Care Bear, like they're sending the rainbow. So that's what
Okay,
he's
yeah, I
showing.
remember.
He says it's actually seeing yourself giving it to them. That you don't need words for. He says it's just an energy exchange. Making sure that the ones that you love, whether it's through gifts or not, just making sure they know how much you love them. He says he's going like this. You can use words, you can use gifts, but make sure it all comes from your heart first.
Right. Not empty words, but just feeling it, sending them that love.
That's exactly,
Visualizing?
Mom.
Can you just visualize the sending the love? Oh, be quiet.
Yeah, he says visualize. He's laughing at the dog. He says visualizing the love. It's almost like it puts material to it. It makes it stronger. Um, he's funny. He goes, "There's so much I want to talk about, Kim. Where do we go? What do we talk about?" He's so amped up.
Maybe
But
say three things other than that. Maybe because a lot of these magazines are 5 things that death has taught me, or 4 things that. Can you maybe name 3 other things that they should know or do?
okay, he says 3 things through the holiday season specifically.
Uh huh.
Okay. People, okay, he's just repeating the same stuff about not taking your loved ones for granted. And then he goes back to the obligations. Okay, let me see if I can give him to give me 3 bullets, 3 bullet point lists. All right. Don't, okay, as you're going into your events, he says, and your gatherings, your meals, whatever you got planned, he says, go with an open heart. That's what being here has taught me is even sometimes you go, your heart isn't open. He says, go with a open heart, um, create deeper connections.
What do you mean open heart? What does that mean? I kind of want it just verbalized.
Yeah, it's just being more accepting of people and who they
Okay.
are and what they bring to the conversation or what they bring to the table. Um, he goes, we can all, depending on how big your family is or your gathering, we all have wacky family members that we don't quite
Mm-hmm.
connect with. But he's like, go with an open heart and try to step in their shoes and feel what they're experiencing or see what they're going through. Just be open. He says again, this is going to
That's a good
create,
one.
he says this is going to create that oneness effect
Yeah.
where he goes, we all are one, but we all fixate on being individuals
Mm.
and what makes us individual and individualism. And he says, if we can step outside of that, he goes, because that's ego, um, then we step into love. We're a little more open and then we're more one. And that's what we're supposed to do and be anyway. So he says, go with an open heart. Um, Open everything, open ears, listen to people, um, and then like shed that filter of obligation. It's not your obligation to do anything. You don't have to go. He says, but what? Look at the experience because he's going to use me as an example. He keeps telling me to talk about it. So I have a family gathering in West Virginia that I'm going to go to in December. And it's always rough because my kids get car sick and you drive through the mountains and
Oh.
ugh,
Well,
so I'm
can't
like,
you give them
ugh.
like a Bonine or something?
A what?
One of those like Dramamine or Kids
Yeah,
Bonine or.
yeah, I will.
Oh,
We got
poor
to get there
things. Oh.
because the family. It's anyway. My mom passed away, so it's like we got to get together.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he's saying, look at the event as what can I get out of this? What can I learn from this? It's not selfish to think that. You're being asked, the opportunity is presented to you for a reason. Maybe there's connections there that are, going to get deeper or going to
Mm-hmm.
be born
Mm-hmm.
that weren't there before. So he keeps saying to lose the filter of thinking it's obligation.
So do things out of love, not duty.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
he goes, yeah, exactly. Use that. And then he really likes what he was saying about individualism. Um, it's okay to want to identify yourself and who you are, but sometimes you should attach or detach from needing that individualism so that you can be more open-hearted.
Yeah. Especially that time of year.
He goes, most definitely that time of year because people can be brutal. He
I
says
know.
people can be fierce and can be brutal and cold. Um, but he's also, then he goes on the complete polar opposite and he says, you should see the energy it creates, Mom, around Christmas time. When he says it's just people in this collectiveness. It's this really colorful, higher vibration. He says
Oh, wow.
everybody gets higher vibrationally because they're excited. They're anticipating greatness, no matter what it is they go through. He's like, so that collectiveness, it shifts, Mom. You should see it. And like among the earth, he says, the colors get brighter, the vibration gets higher because everybody
Wow.
wants to be happier. He
Yeah.
goes, it's pretty fucking cool. You should see the colors, he keeps saying.
Wow, cool. Um, can one of the bullet points be on, how how maybe how this Christmas should be a little, or these holidays should be a little different considering all the bad stuff, scary stuff going on in the world right now with ISIS and such,
He
the
says,
refugees.
yeah, there's a lot to consider there. No matter where you are in the world, he says, think about, he says, again, I want to challenge people to look around and think. He's like warning me, like, hopefully this doesn't be received wrong by anybody, but he says, look around and challenge yourself to find ways that you live in excess. He says when we talk about refugees and we talk about, all the nasty things going on around the world, are there ways that you can sacrifice? Oh, cool. Okay. He says, are there ways that you can sacrifice with intentions to help them? And then he says, he says, think about this. It's not just sacrificing things. He goes, let's say you do. Let's say you realize you have too many clothes and you go and donate a bunch of clothes. It's not just the gesture that helps others. Sure, you're going to clothe maybe your local people that need it. It's oh man, I love this. He says, it's
Cool.
the energy you're doing or you're putting behind the gesture, and where you want to send it, it will go. So let's say you go and donate clothing or food to your local shelter. But if you say, I'm doing this gesture out of love because I feel bad for what the refugees are going through, that energy, Mom, is going to be sent there.
Wow.
He says that vibration is going to be sent there. If it's intended to help them and lift them up, they will receive it. It's love, Mom. It's a love thing, and it's nothing can stop it. Nothing can pierce it. And he keeps going like this with his hand, like showing the energy dart. Okay, he goes, well, it doesn't really dart. It just exists. It doesn't travel. He's like, it just exists. But he says anytime people can look around and find ways to help others, even if, this is so cool. This is such a new concept. If you're helping somebody here with you that but that gesture of love, that you're exchanging or whatever you're trying to give them, if you want that energy to be sent, okay, geez, he's talking fast. He says, because okay, so we're going to use an example so you can understand this as best you can. Okay. So let's say a girl comes into my shop and she needs clothes, and I donate clothes to her. Mm-hmm. But I do this to her because I want, I want whatever I want for the refugees. I want them to find safety or whatever. So he says, having that material exchange makes the energetic existence stronger that you're sending over wherever you want it to be. So, oh man, this is a whole new idea to me. This is so cool.
How does it go from that girl to the refugees?
He says it's where you assign it, Mom. It's where,
okay.
in your heart.
I gotcha. Okay.
It's like he goes, it's a twofer that you're helping this girl,
Ah,
but the energetic exchange can be with her, but also
with
you're
the
putting,
refugees.
yeah, you're putting materialism or matter onto the energy you're wanting to send over. So
I
it
see.
just makes it stronger.
Okay.
This must be really important to him because he's making my throat chakra hurt.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's really loud. Um, I just want people to think bigger, think a little more worldly. And he says, when it comes to, there's a lot of shit that's happening in the world and there's a lot of hate. And if that's where you focus, that's all you're going to see.
Yeah.
He says, um, you don't have to overwhelm yourself in thinking, how can I help the world or save the world? You can start in your backyard, he says, or your front yard. He's goofy. But he says people are aware of the nasty because partially that's what we focus on. He says
Mm.
there's just as much love and kindness in the world, but it's really where you focus too. He says you don't see, I mean, all kinds of gestures happen, Mom. Kind gestures, good, loving things, but you don't see that stuff publicized
I
nearly as
know.
much.
I
He
know.
says, he kind of scratched his head and he goes, that's fucked up. Why don't we do that? Why don't we
Yeah,
focus
why?
on. He goes, oh, I should have. He stuck his foot in his mouth. He goes, I should have known that would be a question for him.
I know. Well,
Um,
you don't have to know the answer to it, but yeah, why is it that? I mean, sure, you have some human interest stories that are uplifting, but mostly it's everything is fear based in the media.
he says, you're right. It is fear based, and it's the drama attached to it, the shock factor, the oh my gosh that people attach to
Hmm.
and feel a need to share and spread. Um, it's harder for people to be vulnerable. And that's when you see these kind gestures and these uplifting stories that mush your heart, he says, um, that connects to people. Almost everybody can connect to that feeling good, but it's harder for people to be vulnerable to connect like that, he says.
Yeah, that's true.
He goes, I
Any
love you.
any last thing you want to say to people that? And if Levi doesn't come in, I can, like I say, you can just text me. I can get on Skype. But
Okay.
any last thing you want to tell people about the end of the year holidays?
He says, just enjoy it with your family. He says, don't take it for granted. Um, is the best thing people can do for themselves is approach it with complete newness and an open heart, open mind, open ears. Um, that'll help everybody get the best experience possible out of it.
Okay.
He says, and again, he says, don't sit around a table or gather around a living room in loss and being in that mindset and thinking, sure, you've gone through a loss and that's been part of your experience, but don't let that become your holiday.
Okay.
He says
All
we
right.
want the highness for you, the happiness, the best. So you should want that for you too.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to feel guilty that they're not there to enjoy it because they are.
He
I'll
says
cook all your
exactly.
favorite stuff, Eric. And
He's like he leaned over like as if you were cooking. He was behind you, going like this, like wafting and smelling.
that's I like to cook because I don't like to clean up. Everybody else has to do the cleanup. It's just awful.
I have to do
Actually, I
both.
clean up as I go, but oh, you have to do both. Oh man.
Yeah, we usually have about 20 people at our house, and oh, speaking
Whoa.
of really quick, it was funny. I had a dream that you came to my house last night, and
Cool.
my kids were excited to have you, and they were dragging out the Christmas tree to show you,
Aw.
and it was a mess. And I was like, "Damn, at least my house is a mess. How about a heads up?" And then
Oh.
then
Hey,
Eric came in.
don't even look at my house, man. Sometimes it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
One day we'll meet, and get to meet your kids and your husband. It'll be fun.
absolutely. I look forward to it.
Me too. All right, sweetie. Just text me when he gets here.
Okay, sounds good. Take
Take care,
care.
girl. Bye.
Anytime. Bye.